My father was a military policeman in Vietnam, staunch Republican, Army guy. My father, this is the first time in his life that he will vote Democrat. He had the Obama sign out there right next to my Hillary sign, but he is voting Democrat for the first time since he's been able to vote. And he said it's because the last 8 years have been the roughest of his life. Personally. And that's what it's coming down to. We all have our personal feelings as to what we need or what we want. Personally, me, it's the economy. I would love to have another child. I can't afford to have another child right now. I have one child that my mother watches while I go to work. If I had to put him in daycare, that would be $600 a month. I don't have that $600 a month. I have a good job. My husband has a good job. It's just the way of the country right now. I mean, I can't. Financially, I can't do it. So for me personally, it has to be Obama.
I may have said this already, that my vote for McCain is not a vote for McCain as much as it's a vote against the liberal democratic machine. I'm very, very apprehensive about the budgeting and, because that you can't give away more than you make. And so I have to ask the question, how are we going to underwrite all of the programs that Obama is promising us? Who is going to pay those tax dollars? Who? Where does the free lunch come in here? It's somebody pays for it. Believe me, I would love to be more philanthropic. I think it would be terrific.
But under the Bush administration, look how spending has increased. Look what he's done to the deficit.
Look at the budget.
How can you talk about who's going to pay for it? We're all going to pay for his mistakes.
We have been.
Yes,
we have.
And I think the other
Don't
thing
be
is
afraid of Obama, since we
I
lived through
guess
George
I
W.
think
Bush.
that what I'm saying is just going to a different party. I think you're indicting a whole group of people who may be different administrators than what we saw in the Bush administration.
Maybe, I think maybe is the key word.
And I think that I will be the first one to say that I am horribly disappointed in the Bush administration. I think he did not surround himself with the best people he could have. I think he's not been as strong or decisive as he could have been. But, we've got to suck it up now. That's water under the bridge, and we've got to go forward. And I'm just worried about the road that we're going to take. How can you promise that you're going to give people things, but you won't tell me where we're going to get the money to do it?
I think if you read, he has pretty well spelled that out.
He's answered those questions.
How can you cut my taxes and still put fund all the programs that they're telling us they're going to fund?
He said
Right.
last week at the debate that some programs will have to be redesigned and retooled because
I understand that, but right now he's running on those programs that are out there now. That's the platform.
But he's got to run on something. He's got to run. He's got to run on what he believes in, and
I understand, but you have to be logical. You have to have a thought process. You can't just take everything as it is. You have to sit down and say, well, if A is going to happen, then B is going to happen, and the result of that is going
what else
to
do
be
we have?
C.
But what else do we have?
Logically, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Logically, it's not water under the bridge, though. It's not water under the bridge because right now we're dealing with the remnants. We're actually dealing with the debris.
But in terms of that administration,
so I feel
that's
like
gone. And as we've all said,
When the administration goes, the
it's
problems
a mess.
won't go.
Right.
I mean,
We're
they're
still
here.
bleeding money
That's
into Iraq
exactly
and
right.
lives every day.
Yeah.
We can
That
stop
is
the loss
exactly
there.
right.
Can reverse the
And
Bush tax
I don't know,
cuts.
does anybody else feel a sense of frustration that our elected officials are not hearing us? Our elected officials in both parties?
I'll be
That's
honest
very,
with you, though.
very
I
important.
think after the last 8 years, I think the country is so starved for change
Right.
that it doesn't matter. I'm not saying that personally. It doesn't matter to me, but I think the country as a whole is so starved for change and still feeling the effects, and we will continue to feel the effects of the last 8 years. That they do not want a Republican in there or a Republican that has supported President Bush on so many things. He is his own individual self, but all they see right now is George W. Bush. another Republican that voted with him on so many things. And I think people are just looking at it as, we can't do this again. We can't have another 4 years of a Republican in office, whether it's right or it's wrong. I think that's the overall feeling. The country's starved for change, and this is the biggest change that they can see, is by getting someone in there who's fresh, who is from the different political party.
Sometimes people are so desperate that they just say they embrace change. Because you know what we've got now isn't working. Anything's got to be better than what we have.
Right, you can have a puppy up there barking change. You can have a little dog up there barking
Which is
change,
exactly.
change. And the whole country is going to look at that little dog and say, you know what? I'm just going to roll with the dog because the dog is barking change. And
But
it might just
I
don't think people do
I
that.
think
No.
we're shortchanging the American
It's-
public.
it's-
I think we have change with substance. We have change with substance from both candidates. It just depends on, and you refer to the American people as ignorant, in the true sense of the term, that they are unaware, not uneducated, but unaware. I agree with that to a certain extent, okay? So people will vote for change because they're ignorant of all of the scope of the issues. My God, I've studied this whole campaign since the end of August, and I'll tell you what, there are a whole heck of a lot of issues I'm still ignorant on, and I'm far from being an ignorant person. So I'm going to take a chance on the person who I think has the best plan for this country. Not because, out of any other circumstance, except I believe his ideals are the best for this country. And I think many people will vote for that because they believe in that candidate and that candidate's platform. There's a faction of American people who are going to vote because he's black, or because he's a Democrat, or vote for McCain because he's a war hero, or because he's a Republican. Okay, but I think the point is, you're not sure of the commodity with another Republican,
Exactly.
except that guilt by association. He's a Republican, so therefore the chances that he'll continue the policies that are disastrous to the country are pretty good. By nature of the association with party. When we go to the other party, hey, I know people are going to vote for Ron Paul, who think he's got the answer. So the point is, your point well taken. Change is the key for many people, and the person who offers the best ideas for that change is going to get the vote.